Have we any apologies for absence, Matt?
Yes, Chair. Apologies from Councillor Malik.
Thank you very much. Can I sign the published record of the meeting of the 19th of February as a true record, please?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Remind members of section 106. Please announce any disclosures of interest. I think we have one item under business not covered by the current forward plan. This is to do with the reference from scrutiny, but I believe it's in private, so it'll be dealt with at the end of the agenda. Okay. No business of special urgency, no references from other committees, no recommendations from scrutiny reviews, and no petitions. And the first item is a report from myself, which is the calendar of meeting dates for that are attached to Appendix A. I will have to give apologies for the 24th of June as I'm on holiday, but I'm sure Javed will be fine for that. But if you've got any real difficulties with that meeting, please let us know. Other than that, can you accept the recommended dates, please? Thank you very much. The second item is item 9, and it's the LEP transfer. In August 2023, the government confirmed their decision to integrate the LEP functions into or within local authorities. The LEP functions specifically were the running of the Growth Hub, the Careers Hub, and ensuring the voice of business continue to be represented at a sub-regional level. We selected to manage the LEP functions once SEMLEP ceased to operate, and the new governance arrangements for the provision will operate through the Central Area Growth Board, which is an existing partnership of the 6 local authorities which make up the Central Area. These being Luton, Bedford, Central Bedfordshire, Northampton, Milton Keynes and West Northamptonshire Council. West Northamptonshire Council was selected to be the accountable body and will run the functions of the Central Area Growth Board. And Luton Council, as you know, is currently the accountable body for SEMLEP, which has ceased to operate. And we hold £13 million of SEMLEP funds in our accounts. 11 million of that in the report you will see is being recommended to transfer to West Northamptonshire to take forward for the future. Paragraph 8 in the report outlines all the issues surrounding our role in the future, and I would therefore suggest that the Executive approve the transfer of SEMLEP partnership functions to West Northamptonshire Council, approve the transfer by the Council of the estimated 11 million that is left in the funding, delegate the approval of the final terms of the inter-authority issue to the Service Director Inclusive Growth in consultation with myself, and the authority to the Service Director to enter into the IAA. And to note, the Council will remain the legacy accountable body for existing Growing Places Fund loan agreements and remaining local growth fund and getting building fund arrangements. And please note that the new governance arrangements, which is all laid out in the report before you this evening. So unless anybody has any questions, I will move that. That agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you very much. The next report is mine as well, and it's to do with the replacements for Councillor Miller by Councillor Ambier with immediate effect onto the active Luton board. So I move that. Is that accepted? Thank you very much. We now move on to item 11, and that's over to yourself, Rob.
Thank you, Hazel. This report sets out the forecast outturn position for the current year based on the results of the Q3 December monitoring. Luton Council continues to deliver essential services to its residents whilst facing unprecedented financial pressures and uncertainties. In February, the Council approved the 24-25 budget, which showed the Council has to deliver its deficit recovery plan and savings as part of the transformation programme in order to deliver an affordable and sustainable budget. The last quarter figures demonstrate that this challenge is getting even harder as the increases in demand for social care and housing is still not abating. In recent months, there are more authorities facing difficult financial challenges and are concerned about future levels of government funding. This Council is not immune to these factors, and the level of overspend has increased in the last few months. The Council has already put measures in place to control costs, such as a moratorium on recruitment agency staff, unless critical to service delivery approved by senior management. It is imperative that further remedial measures are put in place to improve and mitigate as far as possible the current forecast overspend. The Council may have to use the reserves for any one-off overspend to achieve a balanced outturn position by the end of the year. At Q3, the Council is forecasting a £2.6 million overspend after application of all the contingency budget against its £156.8 million revenue budget. However, the projected gross core services deficit before the application of corporate items and release of contingency amounts to £11.5 million, which is net of £2 million of savings delivered already. The deteriorated overall position from Q2 is largely due to £0.8 million increased overspend in children, family and education, £1.6 million increased overspend in adult social care, mainly resulting from increase in demand and costs, and an increase in supported living of £1.5 million due to an increase in number of vulnerable residents requiring additional support in addition to the accommodation costs. Despite the considerable efforts of the Council to manage its financial position, the operating environment and wider economic context continues to be volatile, with minor changes in demand resulting in disproportionately larger financial pressures. These are particularly evident in children's social care and adult social care packages in terms of demand and complexities. Demand for temporary accommodation and loss of housing benefits subsidy, which is mainly due to local housing allowances limited to the 90% of the 2011 rates. The Council is also dealing with the impacts of rising home to school transport costs due to continued high level of provider inflationary pressures, cost of living crisis which also affects important income streams of the Council, and a difficulty in recruiting in a very challenging local and national recruitment market. The use of specific contingency or reserves without having a plan to replenish the reserves are not sustainable in the medium to long term. The Council is working on the outturn and making an assessment of all the outstanding commitments at a year and any one-off savings with a view to deliver a balanced budget at the same time protecting key services. The result of this exercise and the final outturn will be reported to the Executive in June 24. The multiple challenges we face are clear and will be difficult to fully overcome without dedicated efforts to keep soaring costs in check and strive to achieve the savings and outcomes identified in the deficit recovery plans. A lot of work was done at budget setting time to make the 23-24 budgets more sustainable, including additional funding, realignment of budgets and baselining of significant amount of contingencies to enable saving proposals to be made while improving outcomes for vulnerable individuals. However, the effective delivery of these savings has been delayed further by slowing down the economy and impact of inflation and cost of living challenge. These savings have been reprofiled to be delivered over the next 2 years as set out in the 24-25 budget. This would require further work, good project management and continuing focus on these issues by services concerned at a time when there are a number of competing priorities. This will require close and ongoing review, monitoring and reporting. The 24-25 budget has made provision for additional funds to deal with some of the budget pressures reported in 23-24. The 23-24 capital programme year-end forecast spend at Q3 is £97 million against the revised total gross budget £171 million, which is made up of £63 million for General Fund, £22 million for the HRA and £12 million for corporate projects. Slippage in the capital programme is reported as £121 million, which is a further £20 million slippage from the reported £101 million at Q2. with the main reasons being capacity to deliver projects during 23-24, and in the case of property projects, acquisition delays are caused by the availability and suitability of appropriate properties. Highways projects have been deferred as weather and road conditions have impacted on the capacity to deliver the schemes, whilst ICT project will commence in 24-25 due to tenders being awarded. Grant funding has not been secured for delivery of Stockwell Park regeneration scheme, and this scheme has been put on hold. The current forecast overspend at Q3 for the public health is 130,000, housing revenue 265,000, and school budget 3.8 million, which includes 1.7 million investment on various projects using dedicated school grants ring-fence reserves. I recommend the Executive to note the position reported at Q3 and note that further work is being done as part of the year and process in the final outcome report will be presented to the Executive in June 24. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you, Rob. Are there any questions? Happy to agree with the report? Thank you very much. Now move on to item 12. Over to you, Javid.
Thank you, Chair. The Executive is recommended to lend Council support to the Bedfordshire Road Safety Strategy. The following authorities and organisations form the Bedfordshire Road Safety Partnership. That's Bedford Borough Council, Bedfordshire Fire and Rescue Service, Bedfordshire Police, Central Bedfordshire Council, Luton Borough Council, National Highways, Office of the Bedfordshire Police Crime Commissioner, Road Victims Trust. The Bedfordshire Road Safety Partnership is committed to delivering and implementing a safe system approach to road safety. It is not acceptable that people should be killed or seriously injured as a consequence of using the roads to live their daily lives. This is where the concept of Vision Zero comes from, that ultimately there should be no one killed. The safe system approach recognises that no single component in isolation can achieve the goal of zero road fatalities. Instead, it relies on the integration of all components: safe speeds, safe road user behaviour, safe roads, safe vehicles, and post-collision response to create a holistic and proactive approach to road safety. By addressing these components collectively, the goal is to create a safe and more forgiving road environment that minimises the severity of crashes and ultimately saves life. Our goal is to reduce all deaths and serious injuries in the partnership area by 50% by 2035. And I welcome any questions.
Are there any questions from anybody? Yeah, Rob.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I don't know if it's questions or what I've got here, but I'm pleased to see this strategy coming through, but it's the first time I've seen it. I don't know, did it go to Policy Group? It's the first time I've seen this strategy. I don't recall seeing it before, I must admit, because I think I would have noticed it. Secondly, sometimes I've got to say, the reality of it is, for me, maybe undoable, because the door is bolted, isn't it? People are speeding, people are jumping traffic lights. We've had it for years and years. Highways have always told us it's a perception, it doesn't exist, but they don't live in Luton. We see it on a daily basis, speeding. We see people jumping traffic lights. So the enforcement still of this by the police is a major point, and I just can't see them doing it, because they're not doing it at the moment. So what is going to make the police do it in the future, to go out and look at speeding? Are we going to be able to put average speed cameras up, which we understand highways don't like the idea of that? So we need to understand, from my point of view, how are we going to deal with what the problem is at the moment, which is speeding, the jumping of traffic lights, which are causing accidents. Also, from a cyclist point of view, if you go down the cycling and pedestrian shared walkways, there needs to be a big awareness, going forwards, awareness signs, because there's a lot of people who walk down there with ears on and looking at their phones. And the times I'm ringing my bell and they can't see you, they can't hear you, it's dangerous. So we need to make sure, if this is a strategy going forward, we need to make sure that we have those awareness signs, that people are aware that they are sharing with cyclists, and they need to be aware, they need to hear bells ring, and they need to understand what might come up behind them. Because at the moment, they're just walking down, looking at their phones, listening to the music. And I think the last thing for me on this one is, again, about the issues around the illegality of electric scooters. And we know accidents and people have died with electric scooters. We know that. The reality is the police ain't going to deal with it. The strategy's fine, but I just don't think the reality is going to happen. That's just my concern, really. And I've got the first time I've seen it, otherwise I thought I would have mentioned it before. But thank you.
Do you want to go back on that, Javid?
So, Rob, I think that's exactly what we recognise, that alone, without a partnership, we haven't got the resources, we haven't got the understanding. The whole idea is at both levels. So what we've got is a strategic board and we've got a delivery group. So we're trying to change what we've had. Now, both these were supported by data and communication populated by both partner officers. Coordination support will be provided by the partnership delivery manager. Now, the strategic board will directly report to the Road Safety Partnership Scrutiny Panel, which will comprise of the highways portfolio holder from each local authority and the Deputy Police and Crime Commissioner. So we're hoping that by having the Police Crime Commissioner, having the relevant people around the table, with also the new existing, we can finally tackle everything you've said. And we've clearly understand that this is just the beginning of a strategy. The strategy will always be evolving. We will always look to do and we're going to have to also understand that we've got limited resources. The police haven't got it. And I think you're absolutely right that we will look at the casualties and see what the root causes are and do the data to try and tackle the bits that we can do. Because obviously cyclists don't have any, there's no registration number to find out who the cyclist is, because I see all the time cyclists going through there. We've also got e-scooters now, and we've got cycles now that also can go more than faster than a car. And I think some of that we need to use through this strategy. We can feed it back up into the government. That's what we will be looking to do.
Yeah, I'm pleased with the strategy. I just would love to see it come work and come into action, and we can deal with these fast drivers, because it's like Wild West out there now. If you get away with it, they're just going to carry on doing it. You know.
And part of this data-driven will tell us where to focus on, and having the PCCs on board with the authorities will be important. If you want, I can get this. This didn't go to policy because it's an external partnership. I can have it. Do you want me to have an email round to the policy to
all members?
All members.
Yeah, all members.
Yeah, I'll arrange to have it to send to all members.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, thank you, Hazel. This is probably the last time you're going to be seeing me sitting in this seat at Executives, because Amjad takes over on the 1st of May, so I thought I might try to be even more helpful than I may have been in the past. One of the things you might like to note is that Liberal Democrat councillors are currently analysing the returns they've had from their constituents on the resident survey that we conduct from time to time. More than 80% of the returns received are coming from residents who say they are seriously concerned about speeding traffic in their neighbourhood. Two things I would suggest that come from that. Number one, you ought to be trying to get more cameras, because that's the only way you're going to catch these people. There aren't enough police out there able to catch them. And the other thing I would suggest is a serious look at the speed limits around the town. I have been moaning for at least 10 years about the speed limits on the route taken by lots of North Luton residents to get from Barton Road or New Bedford Road to the L&D Hospital, for example, or going to Dunstable. In between Barton Road and Icknield Way, a journey of less than a mile, there are 8 changes to speed limits. Is it any wonder that people don't know what the speed limit is? I've actually pointed this out to Javid. I've sent him a map showing where it is. But 8 changes to speed limits in a journey of less than a mile has got to be lunacy, something I think you should look at.
So I absolutely agree with you, David, and thank you for sending me that 1 mile. 1 mile with 8 different speed limits is bonkers, and we will look at that. We will review, even though you've been 10. And in terms of speed cameras, I think we've got a policy of adding where budget permits us. I think Rob's there. Rob's very keen on having, and just not the normal fixed, it's the average cameras, because we know that a lot of times on the fixed cameras, people stop. As soon as they go past, they go back twice a second to try and recover the 3 seconds they lost whilst they were slowing down. So I take on board that the speeding does concern us, and that's part of this data. Will tell us what sort of, where the speeding hotspots are, and through that partnership working, we can try and target the hotspot areas. Because you're absolutely right, we haven't got enough, and without cameras, and also making sure that the speed limits are sensible. You know, you haven't got 8 changes within a mile. We won't fix this. So I'll take on that action to look at it.
David?
Thank you for that. Would you like me to send you the map again in case you've lost it?
I've still got it, but I've actually got it still, but you can send it again. I've got it.
Are there any other questions? No? Are we happy to agree the report? Agreed? Yes? Yeah, thank you. I'm not going to move on without commenting on the fact that this is David's last executive. I don't know how many years you've been leader of the Liberal Democrat group, but I think it goes back to when I was first came on the council. So that's in the 1990s, David. So your commitment to service for this town is outstanding, and I think we would all agree with that. So I just want to say well done for the years you've stuck at this job, which can be very difficult. And I'm sure we'll get other times to perhaps say something more formal to you. But can we minute our thanks and gratitude to David as an executive for all the work you've done over all these years, please?
Thank you for those few kind words, Hazel. It's been, I think, 26 years
26.
I've been leader of the opposition, and I'm looking forward to actually getting my hands on the shelf after shelf full of books that I bought and haven't had time to read.
Well, 26 years is an incredible achievement by anybody's standards. Yeah.
Well, I'm not actually going anywhere. I'll still be
No,
here.
I know you're still here. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Let's move on. The next report is to you again, Javed.
Thank you, Hazel. So the council has acquired an extension site to ensure that we are able to continue to offer burial services once the existing burial site becomes full. The site is currently under construction, and we hope that site will become operational from May 2024, when the existing site is almost full. The new vale is on Greenbelt land and has been granted planning permission to operate as a cemetery. This report sets out the operating regulation that will be in operation at the new vale site. In effect, residents will experience very little change between the existing site and the new site, and much of what is permitted in the existing site will carry over to the new site. Our priority is to maintain the highest amount of capacity at the new site. The operating regulations clarify the requirement to ensure that there is no encroachment outside of the allocated grave plot and highlight which items will not be permitted linked to this. A number of sessions were undertaken to raise awareness with the public on the new regulation, and this allowed us to further clarify how the regulations are described to ensure people understand what is required. The new regulations are set out in paragraph 4 of the report, and we are recommended to adopt these for use in the new vale site. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions on the report? Is it agreed? Thank you very much. The next report is the refresh of the Luton Sports and Physical Strategic Delivery Plan. And as Kachita's on leave, I'm going to move this tonight. The council is in the process of finalising this report, and our Luton Sports and Physical Activity Strategic Plan, which focuses on 3 priority themes: create active people, create active environments, and create active societies. The vision of the strategic plan is to create a system and environment that increases physical activity and reduces inactivity levels across the borough of Luton. Physical activity is not a statutory service for local authorities. However, the council recognises the value of physical activity on health and well-being within our town, the benefits of wider health outcomes and the role of physical activity in delivering the Council's 2040 vision. The importance of physical activity is also evidenced in the ICP's delivery plan for prevention in primary care settings across BLMK. Physical inactivity remains a public health concern locally, with only 56.4% of Luton's adult population meeting the Chief Medical Officer's activity guidelines. To ensure the local community are part of the strategic plan's development, a two-phase public consultation was undertaken on the new sports and physical activity, and positive feedback from the local community on the vision and 3 priority themes. The consultations highlighted residents were in support of the strategy and its 3 themes. Comments were received from adults that highlighted barriers to activity, which included accessibility, cost, inclusive activities and safety. And for children and young people, it also highlighted that safety is a barrier, and the need for inclusive activities and more activities in parks and green spaces. The feedback that we received for the consultation has been analysed and used to finalise this final strategic plan. The governance structure of the strategic plan has been established with a strategic partnership board reporting to the Council's Health Equity Partnership Board. The strategic board oversees the 3 delivery groups which have been established in accordance with the priority themes, with each having a bespoke action plan surrounded. There are some risks, and one of them is managing expectations of what can and will be delivered as part of this plan. The strategic plan currently has a small public health grant associated with its delivery for 2 years, but thereafter there is no financial budget associated with its delivery. It is therefore imperative to ensure clear communication is required to ensure all involved have an understanding of what to expect and when to expect it as the plan is delivered. It focuses on maximising the resources already available across the whole system while seeking to ensure and secure external funding where we can. So with those few words, I would ask you to agree the recommendations on this report and try and answer any questions that you have. Any questions? Happy to agree? Thank you very much. Can I take Regulation 4 as read, please? Thank you.